Hello everyone, welcome back to Parashat Pantry, where this week we will be studying Parashat Terumah, which comes to us from the book of Exodus, chapter 25. And this is the portion where we hear of the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the holy space where God came to dwell and where the sacrifices were made to honor God. We hear many instructions about what was brought to build the Mishkan and how exactly each feature of the Mishkan was to be built. So the part that I want to focus on talks about the construction of the Holy Ark of the Covenant, the ark that was to hold the tablets of the Ten Commandments. And of course, this ark today has come to be known as our Holy Ark in our sanctuary. So in chapter 25, verse 12, we hear the commandment, "You shall pour 4 golden rings for the ark." These were small golden rings, but very important rings, as there were 4 rings, one near each corner of the bottom of the box, and through the rings were inserted the poles to carry the Ark of the Covenant. One of our commentators, Sforno, says that according to this view, it would not be appropriate for the Holy Ark to stand directly on the floor. So that's why it had to be carried, and that's why these rings were so important to hold the weight of the Ark. So there were 2 large rings on the bottom of each side of the Ark. On the bottom, not the top, so that the ark could be carried by the Kohathites above their shoulders. And there's also a really interesting commentary that the ark should rest above their shoulders and not below, as this was more dignified to carry the ark as high as possible. So we hear this beautiful commentary about how the ark was to be regarded and respected and lifted as high as possible because there was such an important thing inside of it. So my question for us today is, what will you elevate to great significance? What will you lift up on your shoulders? During this time of pandemic, we often might think, we can't do much, so I'm just going to not celebrate this or not make a big deal out of this. But I would argue that it's always a great thing to elevate something to the point of joy and meaning. So this week, we are going to make something to symbolize those very important gold rings that helped us carry the weight of something above our shoulders, and we're going to make onion rings. So we've done a little bit of prep. We had all of these items in our pantry, and we want to try to make an onion ring that we used to like to get at our favorite restaurant. So all we need is 1 onion that we sliced about 1/4 of an inch thick. And yes, our eyes did get a little teary as we cut
My
these
eyes
onions.
are already
a little teary. Okay. The next thing that we need to do is place in a small bowl 1½ cup of flour, a teaspoon of salt, and also a teaspoon of baking powder. And we dredged each of the onion rings into the flour. We did them all and then set them aside on a plate. So the next thing we need to do is to add a cup of milk to our flour mixture.
Can I pour all of it?
Do it very slowly.
Should I pour all of it?
Yeah. And egg.
I want.
So see if you can crack this egg, Ella, on the cutting board. All right. See what you can do without getting the
I
shell.
need more cracking.
Okay. Separate it over the bowl. Great job,
Why is that
Ella.
orange?
Ella's going to wash her hands. And we're going to whisk
I want to whisk it
very slowly
around.
to combine that mixture.
It's getting it kind of looks like a dough.
So we have a nice thick batter, well combined. And And I'm going to move the cutting board because we need to bring over a wire rack. So I have a wire rack that I have put foil underneath because it's going to get a little drippy and messy. So we're going to put the onion ring inside the batter and scoop it up and let it sit on the rack, and any of the extra batter is going to fall off of it. So Ella will put them in for me, and I will scoop them out. Now that we have our onion rings dipped in the milk, egg, and baking powder flour mixture, we are going to dip them into the breadcrumb mixture. And then I have prepared here a pot of a few inches of vegetable oil that I have already heated to about 365 degrees. You can see that I have a thermometer in it because the oil is really hot, and I want to keep it at the right temperature. So we are going to dip our onions into this breadcrumb mixture.
Mommy, can I try picking one up?
I'm going to do this first because it is going to splatter once I put it into the oil mixture. Give it a little shake, and then I'm going to put it into our oil, and you are going to hear it sizzle. And we're going to keep an eye on it because we want to fry them until they're golden brown, and then remove them to our, I have a pan here with paper towels on it.
I'm doing it.
Okay, I will put it into the oil.
Because it's hot.
And when they're brown on one side, we're going to give them a flip.
Whoa.
And here is a perfect
Onion.
golden brown onion ring.
Yummy. This is a really short recipe. It's just like you make it, then you're done.
The cleanup is probably going to take us longer. So we have finished frying our onion rings, and as soon as they came out of the pot, I sprinkled them with seasoning salt. And I cannot wait to try them because they smell so good. And they're nice and crispy as well. So good. So I hope this week, Parashat Terumah, that you can think about elevating something, celebrating something important in your life to bring yourself a little extra joy at this time. Speaking of joy, next week we will be celebrating Purim. So we hope you will join us for a great week ahead. Shabbat Shalom.
Sweet as honey, sweet as honey, sweet as honey on our tongue. Sweet as honey, sweet as honey.